because we're engaging with people at the point of application rather than when a human gets to it, our reply rates have gone through the roof. So the volume of quality conversations that we're having has really increased. And so use it to fix problems rather than to be a nice add-on that looks sexy, but in reality delivers not a lot.
Phil, real pleasure to meet with you. Maybe would you mind starting with your story about the business? When did it start? How did you start with the business? And maybe just a bit of context as to where you are now in terms of maybe size, specialisms, geographies you look after.
Yeah, sure. So Phil Mellows-Facer, BMS Performance. I'm the MD. I've been the MD since 2020. I joined the business in 2003 and worked my way up. We were part of a larger group. Then there was an MBO, and since then I've been running what is essentially the UK-based operation. So we are a sales, marketing, and engineering recruitment business, specializing across lots of different markets. Roughly speaking, 65 people in the headcount. And yeah, excited for who we are, where we're going, but lots of sort of change and challenges ahead.
So when you took over as MD, amazingly difficult year, right? First year of the pandemic. And the next couple of years are like the boom times for recruit.
Yeah.
Since then, the majority of recruitment firms are struggling, right? It's early 2026, recruitment firms are struggling. You're not. Your business is doing well. What is different, do you think, about the way that BMS operates to perhaps other businesses that are suffering at the moment?
I can tell you about the changes that we've made, which is probably the best thing, isn't it? When recruitment was booming, it was very, very simple to get people up and running.
Right.
Okay. And therefore, hiring people in with recruitment experience or sales experience, you knew you were going to get a return. When the market dipped, that was becoming harder and harder. So what we've looked to do is invest more in the people and the processes, the technologies that we're utilizing, and giving our recruiters the tools to be able to do more and achieve more, rather than growing our revenue through adding lots of headcount.
So when you think about what to use tools for, a lot of firms, are overwhelmed by the amount of options you have, right? There's a tool to do everything, right? But you got to look at your margins, you got to look at revenue growth as well. Where have you focused on, or where have you seen the actual real results? Like which parts of the workflow or what type of activities do you see the real opportunity for that actually works?
For me, where we have focused is how do we get our recruiters talking to the right clients and the right candidates at the right time. So everything is around driving quality interactions, quality of conversation, and removing those kind of heavy lifts, admin, CV filtering, protracted outreach, which might take so much time to actually get any positive results. So we're very focused on how do we get our recruiters doing the fun bit, yes, but also the bit that our clients and candidates want to have, which is meaningful conversations at the right time with the right people.
So when you say removing, obviously the filtering and the outreach maybe are more evident to people, but the admin, what are the type of admin activities you identified that you felt were wasteful and were adding value?
So we get thousands of CVs a week. Yeah. And when we looked at the stats, our consultants were spending probably a third of their time looking at CVs for people that we just simply can't help. Okay. So I think there's a lot of frustration in the recruitment market around recruiters not being able to talk to candidates. And I think that's really valid. So in order to be able to talk to as many people as we wanted to or needed to or could, we had to remove some of that time where people aren't productive, really. They're spending hours on a day looking at CVs of people that have got no relevance for the job, are based in the wrong location, don't have the visa requirements or the ability to work in a country without sponsorship, those kind of examples, which were barriers to us helping them as a business. So how do we get rid of that to drive those productive conversations.
This is probably something that folks who don't work in the agency business don't understand as much, which is that you don't get paid a penny for anything apart from the candidate activity that gets hired in a job.
Correct. Yeah.
And 99.9% of your time is actually dealing with people that aren't necessarily going to get hired for the job and get you paid. And particularly if it's contingency versus retained, for example. So when you think about that activity switch, right? I know we're at Talent Connect London today, and obviously LinkedIn has been a big part of that suite. Walk me through, perhaps maybe starting with LinkedIn Hiring Assistant or some of the products, how you begun to use different technologies. Where did you start? Did it all work swimmingly? Where did you have to repivot or change? Walk me through that kind of technology journey.
Yeah, so LinkedIn's been a massive part of that. We've invested heavily in technology for conversation practice platforms, CV screening, but also in targeted outreach. And how do we make sure that we're going after the right people with the right message? And I think that particularly if we look at LinkedIn and where we've been able to use the RPS Plus and the hiring assistant platform, it's how do we try and find a volume of high quality candidates without spending hours on end feeling like we're looking for the needle in the haystack. And that's where really it's added value for us.
A lot of people think it's a simple case of turn it on and it all works. When I talk to folks, it's never quite that simple. There's a bit of work, there's a bit of training, there's a bit of teaching the system, changing your workflows. How difficult was it to transition to that new kind of way of working where the assistant, the tool, is doing a lot of the work for you rather than the habitual tasks that people are used to do?
Yeah, I think there's no point lying about it. That is difficult. And I think there's the worry. I'm like every human, I think we don't like change. But when we map that out and we looked at the time saving that we were able to generate, we were also then able to say, well, this is how much time you've therefore got to invest in something that is going to make you more productive and something that is going to be working for you in the back end. And so even something as simple as a automated follow-up to a high priority candidate. So if we map, this is what good looks like, and we say we want to speak to all of those people, an AI generated automated email to say, thanks for your application, we like you, because we're engaging with people at the point of application rather than when a human gets to it, reply rates have gone through the roof. So the volume of quality conversations that we're having has really increased.
It's easy to think that capacity is the only benefit, right? That a recruiter who is filling 5 roles can fill 10 roles. But how have you found that maybe the secondary effects, such as speed? Does speed impact quality? Does speed to candidate, speed of response impact, just again, to your point, the fact that you can get to maybe higher quality candidates faster, that they're having a better service from you than other people? Has that been something you've seen?
I'd like to think they're getting a high quality service. Certainly the feedback and the reviews that we're given would suggest that they are. I think speed is a really interesting point. I was having a conversation with a colleague earlier on today, and he was saying that actually when we speak to a lot of candidates, imagine you apply for a job on a Friday, you might not hear back from that recruiter till the Monday or the Tuesday. If you can engage with that candidate via an automated message, it's AI generated, they're booking in your calendar and you're talking to that person at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. And so they know who you are, they know why you're calling them, they've booked in your diary to discuss a job, they're sent a description. It's a far more productive conversation. And also we're becoming more front of mind in a candidate's job search. On the flip side, if you eventually get to them on a Monday, maybe a Tuesday, you're phoning them, they might not even be able to remember the job that they've applied to. And so you're starting from a very different position.
When you think about that capacity improvement from the, say, your consultant's perspective, you set out with an objective to get them to spend more time with the candidates that actually matter, as in the ones that are going to get placed, they're going to get placed with their clients. How have you measured that? Like, are you seeing that the volume of hires has gone up? You saying that the net fee income's gone up? What do you look at to say this works?
It's a very good question. So what we're looking at is how are we going from maybe having one candidate in the final interview stage to how do we lock that down? How do we have 2 or 3 candidates in at final with the clients then having to make a difficult decision? Humans want choice. Yeah. So it's starting to impact placements. This isn't something that happened a year ago. So this is something that we've been evolving with over the last 6-9 months. And it's definitely impacting placements, but also it's impacting client satisfaction, fill rates, those kind of things as well.
Talk to me about client satisfaction. Is it something you're openly sharing with clients who think it's a benefit to share with them that you're embracing AI, you're AI forward? Do they see you as their AI partner then in recruiting from that perspective?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Certainly access to a lot of the data that's out there these days. So if we take LinkedIn as an example, a lot of the data that's in the Insights platform, it's great to be able to sit there and have a conversation with the client and say, this is the role you're trying to fill. These are the challenges. What do you want to do about it? It's no longer this, you're looking for a needle in a haystack conversation because they don't believe you, or they're saying, well, actually, we've spoken to another recruiter and they said this, that, or the other. You can have far more factual conversations to say, this is the reality, this is your market, this is what's out there. What are the next steps? What do you want us to do? Where do you want us to go and look?
And will you see that your consultants operating as much more of an advisor, data informed, helps you do things like protect margin, keep that fee income at a higher level, and differentiate you against the other competitors that no doubt they're perhaps thinking of working with or already working with, maybe weren't as advanced or as open to embrace AI?
Yeah, once again, I'd like to think so. We're certainly working very, very hard to have scoping calls initially with our client base, but also having regular update calls. So when we're midway through a search before we submit the shortlist, we'll say, this is where we are, this is where we're tracking on progress, what changes need to be made. So we're able to use data and more informed decisions to influence clients and outcomes and strategies moving forward as well.
Has everyone embraced it, or have you had examples where folks just weren't able to change their workflows, change their way of thinking, and maybe left the business or it didn't work out?
I don't think we've had anyone leave the business because of it. I think it's only natural within any organization to have a spread of aptitude for it, capability in learning things and adapting quickly. But I'd say it's a steady improvement, and I think that's fine. Like, we're not trying to ram it through or ram it down anyone's throats. We're saying, this is the market, this is the way it's going. We have to look at embracing it. If we don't, we're going to fall behind. But people are going to adapt to it at different speeds, and that's fine.
I started in the agency world coming up on 28 years ago, scaring me this summer. I've seen a lot of changes. You've seen, no doubt, change 20 years with the business through its different iterations. When you look at the skills of a recruiter today versus 5, 10, 15 years ago, or even 5 years forward, how are you seeing that shift? Like, in terms of are there any particular skills you'd hire for now more than you might have 5 years ago, or that you're thinking will be even more important in a couple of years' time? And are there skills where you think, I would have loved people with those a few years ago, but that's not as relevant today?
It's a really, really interesting question. I think that differentiating services in this market right now is really hard. And so I think when I started in recruitment, it was very much about selling your services. Then it became who can come up with the best candidate. And now I think it's a really, really interesting mix of both. I see a lot of talk in the market now about 180 versus 360. And there's a move from the volume being 360 to a few more are trying 180. And I think that is fundamentally driven by a BD issue. And recruiters are struggling to get the volume out of their existing client base.
How are you thinking about solving the BD side? because obviously that's a big piece, right?
Yeah.
It's all very well to look at how you operationalize the delivery part of recruiting and the advisory piece, but you've got to have customers who are paying in the first place.
Yeah.
And maybe exploring even other partners or vendors. Have you looked at technology or any interesting technology or automation that can help on the BD side that you're experimenting with?
That's an interesting question, actually. Yeah. So we, in the vast majority of our business, we split 180. So we have salespeople and fulfillment people. And for us, we think that works really, really well and drives the focus, and there's a smooth handover. The collaboration's brilliant. And that works well. I mentioned earlier on a conversation practice platform. We use that to train our salespeople, to expose them to difficult conversations, and help with fee negotiation training, alternative supplier, alternative method training, that kind of thing. And that's worked really, really well for us as well.
Yeah, I've talked to folks. I spoke to an agency owner recently who told me he's built a little agent in Copilot that responds to RFPs, to tenders, everything, in a way that he knows that wins, and it gets better and better and better with every RFP response. And when analyzing an RFP, to understand, or an RFI, to say, should we even bid for this? Are we going to win it, et cetera, and gives them that scale. So this kind of mini agent approach. Have you embraced that kind of micro AI approach where you're looking at maybe people in the business are proposing different mini agents to do different parts of it that are bespoke around that longer workflow of recruiting?
Yeah, we've certainly separated some of that stuff off. So we've got people that are, so as an example, in our graduate division, we had the team head of fulfillment come to us with a problem of we're spending too long looking at CVs of people that we simply cannot help. So we've employed a bot there to separate the applications into 3 buckets. The definite reds, the definite people that we can't help. The definite greens, so they're sent an automated message, they're booked into the consultants' calendars, increase workflow dramatically. We're then spending time in the middle ground, in the ambers, of people that AI can't tell us whether we can work with those people or not. So that requires the human touch, and that requires the consultants to use their knowledge to make informed decision on whether we can help them.
We've seen today, even LinkedIn presents on the main stage, new updates, new features. It's constantly evolving. Where do you see the world of staffing going in the next 5 years, right? Well, none of us can predict the future, but what are you betting on in terms of how it's going to evolve in terms of the service offerings, the way we deliver, the way we develop business?
I'm definitely betting on the evolvement of AI and technology. And I'm definitely betting on that is going to drive a higher volume of meaningful conversation with clients and candidates. I think that the secret is clearly the right people at the right time, whether you're a candidate, whether you're a client, whether you're potentially both. And that's my viewpoint on where it's going. And so far, LinkedIn have been fantastic in helping us do that. I think the product evolvement, as we've seen today, is only going to get stronger and stronger.
Elephant in the room sometimes in staffing and recruitment services is perhaps this prediction that it all goes to zero. There's no need for any sort of recruitment vendors anymore because it's all going to be automated. Every company can do the automation themselves. Obviously, I'm imagining you believe something different. So talk to me about what is your bet on human, and what is your bet on a staffing business being successful? Why will this continue? What do people have wrong who make that flippant remark that this is the end of the agency world?
I think for me, the main I firmly believe that recruitment's got a very strong future. And I think in order to do that, you have to have your knowledge, your speciality, your niche, whether it is role specific, whether it is vertical market specific. Because for us, that's where the value comes. Our clients come to us and say, these are the skills that we want, and we can tell them where they need to go in order to find those. And we're the ones that experienced in vetting that in volume. And I don't see that changing. I think the scale in which we're able to do it and the speed in which we're able to do it are going to change. but I don't think that the fundamental value is going to change. If anything, it's only going to increase.
Arguably, the benefit of AI is that that value compounded over time can now be contained within your processes and systems. Whereas maybe before it was always in the consultant's hand. You lose a good consultant with good reputation, good knowledge, they go to a different business or leave the recruiting industry, you're back to square one with a new hire. Whereas the systems are more being taught that knowledge within your business, that expertise. So it kind of stays with you from every recruiter that uses the systems with different candidates rather than go elsewhere.
Yeah.
About, I'd argue 90% of agency owners and MDs don't think like you today. They're not embracing AI. And for you, that's probably perfect, right? Drive them out of the market and you can gain more. But if you're in a generous mood and you're advising any other senior executives in a recruiting business around their approach to AI, where to start, how to think about it, what would your top tips be?
Well, first tip is embrace it. Don't be scared of it. Don't feel the need to say that you know the answer to all of the problems, because you don't. I would personally pick a problem, a real problem, and think, how can we deal with that? So if I mentioned the AI bot, that was something off the back of, yes, we were interested in AI. Yes, we were exploring ways, but that was a real business problem that we thought, this is holding us back. How do we supercharge that team and allow them to have a greater volume of more conversations, better conversations? And so use it to fix problems rather than to be a nice add-on that looks sexy, but in reality delivers not a lot.
Find the right problem to fix first, not the right solution to go find a problem for.
Yeah.
Essentially what you're looking for here.
Exactly, yeah.
And for you, you said that volume piece was the right place to start, trying to filter and at the top of the funnel, get people focused on the right candidates, the greens first.
Yeah.
That was probably your biggest win, was it?
Yes, at the beginning, yeah. And we saw, so if I look at email reply rates as an example, so we automate a message to those green candidates to say, we really want to speak to you, please book in the diary. So before that was being automated, that was a manual thing for consultants, and our reply rate was early 30s in percentage. When I caught up with our COO earlier on today, and I asked for an update on the numbers, it's 81%.
Wow, 81%.
Yeah.
Phil, it's a really good stat to finish on, right? Amazing kind of ROI that you're getting. Great to see you're embracing AI, working with LinkedIn and other partners to do it. I wish you success.
Okay, thank you very much. Lovely to meet you. Cheers, man.